July 15th, 2020, your phone pings. And there it is, a tweet from Elon Musk. The message is short, simple, and utterly unbelievable. Send me Bitcoin, and I will double your money. 60 seconds later, the promise is copied and pasted by the most powerful voices on the planet: Barack Obama, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Even Apple's official account, which had been silent for years, suddenly blares the same ridiculous, yet tantalizing message. Twitter had been hacked. The world's digital fortress, the planet's global news feed, a platform that moves stock markets and starts revolutions, was being used to run a crude, kindergarten-level scam. In just 10 minutes, the scammer's Bitcoin wallet filled with over $118,000. The victims weren't billionaires. They were ordinary people duped by the unassailable authority of a blue checkmark. Now, here's the truly terrifying part. This wasn't the work of a foreign intelligence agency, a massive, state-sponsored cyber army, or some elite collective on the dark web. It was a teenager, a 17-year-old in Florida, armed with nothing but a laptop, a phone, and a terrifyingly simple strategy. The question isn't what he stole. The question is, how did a kid hack the fortress that guards the planet's newsfeed? And were we just one fake tweet away from a global market meltdown? This is the story of the 2020 Twitter hack, and it's a masterclass in why in the world of cybersecurity, people are always the weakest link. Our cybercrime documentary begins not with a whiz-kid coder, but with a profile in social manipulation. Meet Joseph O'Connor, a British teenager known online as Plugwalk Joe. Joe wasn't interested in writing zero-day exploits or breaking encryption. His passion was for OG usernames, original gangster handles. These are short, coveted, single-character Twitter and Instagram names, traded like digital baseball cards on underground forums like OG users. But Plugwalk Joe's game had already escalated far beyond trading vanity handles. By 2020, he was a master of a technique known as SIM swapping. SIM swapping is a form of financial fraud where the hacker convinces a mobile carrier employee to transfer a target's phone number to a SIM card on the hacker's own device. To do this, they only need a few pieces of easily available personal data, often bought on the dark web after a data breach. Once they control the phone number, they control the two-factor authentication for bank accounts, email, and crypto wallets tied to that number. It's a digital skeleton key. Joe and his crew had already used this method to pull off audacious raids, like stealing an estimated $794,000 in cryptocurrency from a single company's executives. But Joe was chasing more than money. He was chasing infamy. He'd stolen crypto, swatted celebrities, and even threatened to leak a celebrity's private photos for a mere social media promotion. He was a menace driven by power and ego. He needed a stunt that would permanently cement his legacy as a digital gangster. That perfect opportunity presented itself in July 2020 thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. Like most major corporations, Twitter had gone fully remote. Its employees, scattered at home, were logging into company networks via VPNs and communicating over internal chat systems like Slack. For a social engineer, this decentralization was a wide-open target. Security is weakest when an employee is relaxed, distracted, and working outside of a secure office environment. Joe and his co-conspirators, including the alleged mastermind, a 17-year-old named Graham Clark, alias Kirk, who was the one inside the system, hatched a plan that bypassed all of Twitter's cutting-edge code. They went after the employees. The attack began with reconnaissance, the phishing prep. The hackers combed LinkedIn and other public data to identify Twitter employees who were likely to have administrative access to internal tools. Then, they launched a targeted attack that security experts call phishing, voice phishing, and spear phishing. Posing as Twitter IT support, they cold-called employees at home. The pretext was simple. The urgent voice on the phone would claim there was a security emergency and that a new VPN link was being deployed. They would use just enough internal jargon to sound legitimate. The panicked employees clicked the provided link, which led to a pixel-perfect fake of Twitter's VPN login page, handing over their usernames and passwords. They'd already stolen the credentials. Now for the two-factor authentication bypass. The attackers immediately used the stolen credentials to log into the real VPN. When prompted for the 2FA code, they simply told the employee they needed it for verification, and the unsuspecting employees, believing they were talking to IT, read it right off their phones. Just like that, the hackers were inside. The access they gained was to Twitter's internal God mode tool. Think of it as a super admin panel that could reset any account's email, change its password, and tweet from it, no matter how famous the owner. It was total, unchecked authority over the platform. They first tested the tools on obscure OG handles as a proof of concept. When it worked, they knew it was time for the biggest stunt in the history of social media. At 8:17 p.m. UTC on July 15, 2020, the digital world was shattered. The tweets began. They read, "Feeling grateful, we'll double any Bitcoin payment sent to my address in the next 30 minutes." It was a classic, lowbrow scam, a whaling attack, phishing targeted at high-profile individuals. Yet, seeing it come from Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and the official Apple account lent it an unbelievable air of legitimacy that preyed directly on greed. The Bitcoin wallet address posted in the scam tweets was rapidly filling up. In less than an hour, over 320 payments had been made, totaling about $118,000. The financial loss was relatively small, but the cybersecurity protocol breach was staggering. What if they hadn't posted a Bitcoin scam? What if they had tweeted a fake nuclear alert? What if they had posted from a world leader's account announcing a market crash? The stakes are enormous. In 2020, the cost of cybercrime to the global economy surpassed $1 trillion. A single false tweet from a major market influencer could have caused panic selling that dwarfed that figure. The world dodged a bullet. Behind the scenes, Twitter's security team realized the catastrophe. They didn't have time for nuance. They made the most drastic decision in the company's history. They locked down the entire platform for all verified blue check users. The compromised were silenced alongside the uncompromised. This was the only way to stop the cascading fraud. Within 3 hours, the rogue tweets were deleted and the digital siege was over. The investigation was immediate and international. Law enforcement quickly followed the trail of digital breadcrumbs. First, the wallet. Blockchain analysts followed the money, tracing attempts to cash out the stolen Bitcoin to an exchange account tied to a UK resident, the infamous Plugwalk Joe. Second, the logs. FBI and Secret Service agents pulled leaked forum logs from OG users and Discord, identifying the other key conspirators, including Graham Clark, Kirk, and Nima Fazeli. Rolex. Just 2 weeks later, the 17-year-old mastermind, Graham Clark, was arrested in Florida. Clark, due to his age, was sentenced under Florida's Youthful Offender Act to 3 years in a juvenile facility, followed by probation. But Plugwalk Joe Joseph O'Connor was still at large, lounging in Spain. He was so arrogant, he even contacted a New York Times reporter, scathingly dismissing his involvement. "I don't care. They can come arrest me. I would laugh at them." That quote became the warrant. For the next year, U.S. authorities quietly built a case against O'Connor, connecting him to SIM swaps, extortion, and cyberstalking. Joe's overconfidence was his downfall. In July 2021, Spanish law enforcement descended on his resort town. The boy who dared the FBI to arrest him was led away in handcuffs. In 2023, after fighting extradition, Joseph O'Connor pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. The game was over. The great Twitter hack wasn't a technological marvel. It was a testament to the power of human weakness. So, what can we learn from this massive breach? The world lost $118,000. But the biggest lesson is the need for a personal firewall. The attack was social engineering, a human exploit, and the defense must be human as well. Here is your essential security advice from the Digital Sleuth. First, ditch SMS for 2FA. Never rely on text messages for two-factor authentication because this is the weakness SIM swapping exploits. Instead, use hardware keys like YubiKey or authenticator apps like Google Authenticator or Authy. These methods are much harder to steal. Second, establish a secret PIN with your carrier. Call your mobile provider today and set up a unique, strong PIN or password that must be provided verbally to make any account changes, including SIM swaps. Don't use your birthday or address. Third, stop sharing PII. Every detail you post online, your birthday, your pet's name, your old street, is ammunition for a social engineer to successfully impersonate you. Limit the personal information you share. Fourth, question authority, the phishing test. Be hyper-skeptical of any urgent requests, whether it's a text, an email, or a phone call. An IT department will never cold call you and ask you to read off a 2FA code or click an unfamiliar link. Hang up and call back on a verified public number. The moral of this cybercrime documentary is clear. The most sophisticated security technology in the world can be defeated by a single employee making a single careless decision. In the digital world, you are the target. The threat landscape is always shifting, and the hackers always evolve, but the core vulnerability remains the same. If you want to know how the biggest digital crimes are solved and how to protect yourself from the next big threat, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Until the next case, stay vigilant, stay secure. I'm the Digital Sleuth.